It's 9:45 p.m. on the 401 westbound, somewhere between Oshawa and Mississauga. A long-haul driver pulls into a Petro-Canada truck stop. The lot is packed, every bay full. Rigs lined up 3 deep along the fence. He fuels the truck, pays for a shower, grabs something to eat at the counter. And then he does something that makes no sense. He gets back in the cab, pulls onto the highway, and drives 14 kilometers down the road to sleep in a Canadian Tire parking lot. He left a lit, staffed, fully equipped truck stop, a place he already paid to use, to park alone in a retail lot with no security, no amenities, and no one watching his trailer. Tonight, you're going to find out exactly why. And once you understand the answer, you will never look at a parked semi the same way again. The first thing you need to understand is that this isn't a preference. It isn't comfort. It isn't habit. It's arithmetic. Canada moves roughly 90% of its consumer goods by truck. Every piece of food on a grocery store shelf, every appliance, every piece of lumber, every pharmaceutical, moved by a driver sitting in a cab somewhere on a Canadian highway. The entire country depends on this network functioning every single day, and right now that network is quietly running out of places to stop. According to Trucking HR Canada, there are currently over 301,000 commercial truck drivers working in Canada. The Canadian Trucking Alliance estimates the industry needs at least 20,000 more just to meet current demand, and that number could reach 30,000 within the next few years as 1/3 of the existing workforce approaches retirement age. But the driver shortage is not the most dangerous problem. The parking shortage is. There is no national database in Canada that tracks the ratio of truck parking spaces to active drivers the way the United States does. That absence alone tells you something. What Canadian drivers, dispatchers, and industry associations will tell you, off the record, in forums, and in submissions to provincial transportation ministries, is that by 9 p.m. on any weeknight, every major truck stop on every major corridor in this country is full. The 401 through Ontario, the Trans-Canada through the Prairies, the Coquihalla corridor in BC, full, and the federal hours of service clock doesn't care. Under Transport Canada regulations, a commercial driver cannot exceed 13 hours of driving in a day and must take a mandatory rest period before continuing. The moment that clock runs out, the truck stops. Legally, it has to. It doesn't matter if the nearest available parking is 40 kilometers away. The driver must stop, and they must stop now. So the driver who pulled into that Petro-Canada at 9:45 wasn't being picky. He was racing a clock that had almost run out, and the lot was full. So he made the only decision available to him. He kept moving. Here's where the story gets darker. Even when a spot is available, even when the lot isn't full, experienced Canadian drivers have a second reason for avoiding major truck stops at night, and this one has nothing to do with hours of service regulations. Peel Region, just west of Toronto, covers Mississauga and Brampton. It is the single largest freight hub in Canada. Detective Mark Haywood of Peel Regional Police's Commercial Auto Crime Bureau has described the area as third in North America for cargo theft activity, behind only Los Angeles and Chicago. In July 2023, Peel Regional Police announced the results of Project Big Rig, a joint forces investigation that dismantled what they called a prolific criminal theft ring operating across Mississauga, Brampton, and the wider GTA. The operation recovered nearly $10 million in stolen trucks and cargo, 28 stolen tractor-trailers, cargo valued at nearly $7 million, all of it taken from parked trucks. Some stolen directly from truck stops and roadsides, while drivers had left their vehicles momentarily unattended. Peel Police noted that roughly $1.8 billion worth of goods passes through Peel Region every single day. Organized crime groups know this. They have mapped the truck stop locations, learned the shift patterns, and in some cases, cut through wire fencing at night to access secured lots. Across the U.S. and Canada combined, cargo theft hit a record 3,625 incidents in 2024, a 27% increase over 2023. The average single theft was valued at over $202,000. Ontario alone accounted for 85% of all reported cargo theft incidents in Canada that year. 85%. So the driver sleeping in the Canadian Tire parking lot isn't paranoid. He's informed. He knows which truck stops in the GTA have had trailers stolen in the last 6 months. He has apps on his phone where other drivers post real-time warnings about specific locations. The major truck stop, lit up, busy, full of other trucks, is also, for a driver carrying a valuable load, exactly where organized theft crews are watching. The quiet retail lot 14 kilometers down the road where no one expects a truck to be is safer. But the most disturbing chapter in this story didn't happen on a highway. It happened at the end of a driveway on Mayfield Road in Caledon, Ontario. Caledon sits at the northern edge of Peel Region on the border with Brampton. For years, the town has struggled with an epidemic of illegal truck parking operations, companies using agricultural and residential land as unlicensed trucking depots, storing tractor-trailers on properties not zoned for commercial use. In 2020, Caledon established a dedicated trucking task force specifically to deal with the problem. That same year, residents began filing complaints about a property on Mayfield Road near Airport Road, noise, debris, trucks at all hours. In January 2023, the town of Caledon obtained an injunction from the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. The property was ordered to cease operating as an illegal trucking depot. On the night of November 20th, 2023, at just before midnight, someone entered the Mayfield Road property and opened fire. Jagtar Sidhu and Harbhajan Sidhu, a couple in their late 50s visiting their children from India, were shot inside the rental home on that property. Jagtar died at the scene. Harbhajan died later in hospital. Their daughter Jaspreet was shot 13 times. She survived. The OPP launched a homicide investigation. Multiple suspects were sought. A vehicle fire elsewhere in Caledon that same night was investigated for connection. Jagtar and Harbhajan Sidhu were not truck drivers. They were not involved in any trucking operation. They were visitors, sleeping in a rented home on a piece of land caught in the middle of a years-long battle between a municipality trying to regulate illegal truck parking and the criminal networks that had moved into that vacuum. They died because there is no legal place for trucks to go. No legal parking creates illegal lots. Illegal lots attract criminal operations. Criminal operations bring violence. And the people who pay the final price are often the ones furthest from the industry itself. So let's go back to the driver on the 401. He fuels at the Petro-Canada because the major chains have the pumps, the showers, and the food. He uses the truck stop for everything a truck stop is designed to provide. Then he leaves. Because sleeping there means leaving a loaded trailer in a lot that organized crime has been mapping for years, in the highest cargo theft corridor in the country, on a clock that gives him no flexibility to move if something goes wrong. He drives to the Canadian Tire parking lot because the lot is bright, no one is watching for trucks there, and 14 kilometers of separation from a known theft hotspot is a real risk reduction. Drivers call this the split routine. Fuel, shower, and eat at the chain. Sleep somewhere else. It is practiced by experienced long-haul drivers across every major Canadian freight corridor every single night, and it has no official name, no government acknowledgement, and no policy solution anywhere close to implementation. The Canadian Trucking Alliance has submitted recommendations to the federal government. Provincial associations have called for regulated parking standards. No national inventory of truck parking spaces exists. No federal legislation equivalent to America's Jason's Law, passed after a driver was murdered while parked at an abandoned gas station with nowhere else to go, has ever been introduced in Canada. The drivers have voted with their wheels. Tonight, somewhere on the 401, a driver is pulling out of a full truck stop and heading for a quieter lot. He is not lazy. He is not difficult. He is not making a poor decision. He is doing the math on a broken system, one that moves 90% of everything this country consumes, pays the people doing it some of the most thankless wages in the skilled trades, provides them no guaranteed place to legally rest, and then asks them to do it again tomorrow. The parking lot he chose isn't safe. It's just safer than the alternative. And that distinction, between safe and safer, is how Canadian truck drivers survive a system that was never designed with them in mind. If you drive a truck, dispatch a fleet, or work anywhere in Canadian logistics, has the system ever put you in a situation where every option was the wrong one? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear from the people who live this every night on Canadian roads. And if this is the kind of content you want, the hidden systems quietly running this country, and the real cost of keeping them going, hit subscribe. There is a lot more of this coming. See you next time.